That's what we're doing. We're doing it right now.
Proceed.
Already did. We should be live, unless there's other technical issues that I'm not aware
No,
of.
I just got the little live notification. So
Good.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight?
hello.
We
all.
got John and Dalton.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I need to mute this.
Oh, that banana cream pie.
What?
Banana cream pie. It's dessert of the Church of Lady Boy Saints.
I love banana cream pie.
So do I.
It's delicious.
Oh yes.
Hello, Samurai Raccoon and Underworld Dream. Nice to see you guys here. Welcome. How are we doing?
Those are two sexy people right there on Twitter. I like those two. They're cool as hell.
Yes, they are. And Eric's here too. I got a notification. Lucky you.
It's nice when YouTube actually does their fucking jobs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best thing in the world. It's freaking fantastic. When it finally actually does what it's supposed to do and notifies me of things. The real question is, when will we get the Castlevania review stream?
Speaking of that, do you guys get my YouTube notifications? Because I try to like send them out, but I don't.
I think I get notifications, but sometimes I'm just too busy with, we have a Brian Michael Bendis troll in the stream. Okay.
Oh, sure.
Joy. No, I think it's one of those fun ones, kind of like the Dan Slott one that normally is trolling weapons streams and whatnot. Brian, cream pie, yummy in my tummy. Okay. Thank you for that. She thinks, John, I'm only able to hang out for about 20 seconds. I'll be doing my own stream. Oh, well, maybe people will go over to Samurai Raccoon's channel and go check out his stream. Hopefully we won't be here too long. Ask Dalton where he was for the Gabby Award nominations. I don't know. Where was Dalton?
I was watching Legends of Tomorrow because it was the season finale and I have a thing to review. So there.
Well, there's your answer. I think that's a pretty fair answer. Any thoughts on FOSTA? What the heck?
Oh, it's this new bill that they're doing, and I started watching V's video on it, and then I gave up halfway through because I got bored. I don't have any thoughts on it yet.
What's it called?
FOSTA.
What's it supposed to be about?
I genuinely don't know. Like, I remember watching about half of a V video on it, but like I said, it completely departed my brain.
You said my name. Oh no, Dan Slott's here too. Well, good. You guys could hear us complain about Marvel.
It's nice to know that Marvel writers operate under like Beetlejuice style rules. You say their name and then they show up.
If only
Not
that were
that
true.
they operate under Freddy Krueger rules and try to scare everybody to death.
No, hello, Turtle Time.
Because Freddy Krueger actually, there's an art to his fear making. There's no art in current Marvel, unfortunately.
I think Udifer's trying to tell us what FOSTA is, make internet hosts be responsible for, and criminal sex trafficking to be short and quick.
Oh, yeah. That's it's basically the same thing they always do with like censorship bills. They'll tuck it under something else. Like they'll call it the Defeating Online Sex Trafficking Act or something, but they'll throw in a bunch of amendments of, by the way, you also won't be able to link this or that or the other. And by the way, there'll also be restrictions on unfair use and content and things because no one ever bothers to read these 20-page long fucking documents. So we're going to sneak things in because reasons.
Hi, Joan.
Yeah, what's going on with that these days? You see all these crazy sex scandals that's going on?
I'm trying my best to ignore most of that. I don't know anything about them. I'm hearing stuff.
It's funny that it's happening to us so much in the media these days.
Well, I think it's because now things are far more public than they've ever been in the past.
Yeah, Me Too is basically the left wing equivalent of the Satanic Panic of the right wing back in the 90s.
Yeah, I was just trying. Also saying hello to. We have Joan in the chat saying Sieg Zeon. Yes, of course. And Soul of the Dragon. There is art, the art of destruction. Yes, that is also a thing. Believe whammon. Yes, Samurai. That's what we have to do.
9.
No, I do not want my own sex scandal. Thank you very much. I'll pass on that. You guys are just have get your mind out of the gutter, Eric. That's all I gotta say. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Where would Eric put his mind if it weren't in the gutter? That seems to be where he prefers to keep it when he's not using it.
Yeah, just as long as he keeps it to himself.
Sadly, my mind's always in the gutter. It's just part of my writing abilities, and I don't know. It's just me. I can't explain it.
Yeah. Yes.
I got to speak some wisdom and be. I could speak some wisdom and be a pervert all at the same time. It's fun.
I'm surprised you didn't turn that into yet another Philadelphia anecdote, and then we would all have to drink.
I mean, like I said the other day, this is a crazy place to live at, but one of the main things is be yourself. Don't be scared. Don't show no fear. But my thing is, you got too many people hiding in closets and hiding behind shadows up here that are scared to be themselves while I try to pretend to be something else. Like I tell everybody, the way I am in real life is the way I am online. There's no difference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys, Joe Quesada's here too. I'm afraid of my sex scandal being known. Oh, shit.
Well, while Joe Quesada's here, sir, you need to quit. You seriously need to quit. You're ruining Marvel. So please do us all a favor and just bye-bye.
Yes, please.
And also, just because I know how this tends to work and Mark Waid can't be far behind, fuck off, Mark. Leave my Doctor Strange alone and let him continue to be the master of the mystic arts. Fuck you.
Yes. Okay, so we'll get to the news here. I gotta jump on the screen share here. Oh, oops, I don't think I did it. No, I did not.
No, you did not.
I was starting to, and then I screwed up. I screwed up mildly.
Now you are effectively sharing the screen now.
Yeah, we've got an article from comicbook.com. Hooray!
Cancer.
Well, most of them are. So what else is new? So yeah, it's like we got Marvel teases the destruction of the Marvel Universe. Again, it's not like we haven't done this a half dozen times, but the news as it pertains to Marvel's comic book ideas. Some Marvel stories are well known by casual readers and longtime fans alike, but Marvel is looking to change the foundation of those stories, including one of the features your favorite wall crawler, Spider-Man. The Spider-Man story in question is Spider-Man No More, which is a comic book I actually own. It's issue 50. A classic story that kicked off in Amazing Spider-Man issue 50, volume 1, 1967. The story featured a frustrated Peter Parker who feels bogged down by all the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. Basically, if you've never read that issue, basically it's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 plot where Spider-Man is sick of being Spider-Man and he dumps his suit in the trash. I don't know if anyone has read the original book, but if you haven't read the comic, that's what it is. But yeah, basically all the constant beratement by Jameson and all this other stuff, he gives up. And this isn't the first time Spider-Man gave up, but yeah, but this image has it shows the issue 50 cover. Yay for that. But it's like, who brought the Amazing Spider-Man back after Spider-Man No More? And then this wonderful little image right here. Marvel history is destroyed, March 2019. I think that, what do we got here? It says, the original story, nothing can get Peter to put the suit back on, not even the rising crime rate, but he eventually runs upon someone in need of help, and he cannot turn away. He saves the Night Watchman, only to realize he reminds him of Uncle Ben, and that brings with it the original, with great power comes great responsibility, mantra that made him become... Okay, for starters, I didn't notice this when I first read this article yesterday. Look at that. I see a typo. You guys still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Given that their only job is simply to write the things, they could at least manage to proofread on occasion. But what the fuck do I know?
I'm scared to say this, but I think I know what they're probably trying to do. And this goes back to a conversation we had before with English scene about Miles Morales and all the Spider-Verse movie and all the other crazy stuff. I think what they might be trying to do, they might try to get rid of like the original Marvel characters and replace them with more diverse, quote unquote, upgraded versions. Like Peter Parker may disappear for good, and Miles Morales will be the one and only Spider-Man, and they might, I don't know, go back to a female forward, and they might keep Big Dumb She-Hulk, and do similar stuff like that. But I got this weird feeling that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, because, well, what it says here is, was the person he saved put there on purpose? Was someone watching Parker? Is there something else at play here? Lots of questions that we want answers to. I don't want to know.
Well,
the whole entire... If this guy was basically supposed to be another Uncle Ben that gets Peter back into the game and gets him back to fighting crime and being Spider-Man again, I don't want that to be tainted by some stupid nonsense.
You know what? And if you want to revisit this and make it something big and important, just make it an incarnation of the One Above All. There, you've successfully gotten all the drama out of it, and also made something that made sense, and also given a little bit of depth to that story, even more so than it previously had. I just did your job for you, Marvel. Send me a check, please.
Yeah. It says this is the second teaser Marvel has released in the same vein. The previous teaser involved the Fantastic Four, specifically in regards to who gave them their powers. If the pattern of these two is any indication, we'll likely see even more well-established stories getting reworked. And we can't wait to see who that includes. Well, it also includes Captain America and the Avengers. So basically, the three major cornerstones of the Marvel Universe getting freaking boned.
Yeah, I was just spitballing here, but now I'm genuinely thinking they might potentially maybe be smart enough to include the One Above All in these stories, because
you might be right.
One of the first places where the One Above All showed up in Marvel, it was the Fantastic Four, and it took the form of Jack Kirby the first time, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
I don't remember the specific issue. Someone
it could be something like that. It's like, who gave the Fantastic Four their powers? It's like, well, as far as we're all concerned, they were hit by cosmic rays, and cosmic rays kind of just go wherever they want to go, I think.
But if you want to do the kind of predestination thing where everything is kind of divinely ordained, goody for you. You have the One Above All. Go nuts.
Yeah, there's that. That's an option, but they tried to do the whole destiny thing with Spider-Man before, and it never worked. J. Michael Straczynski tried that, remember? With the whole Ezekiel thing and whatnot.
Doesn't mean that there aren't ways in which it obviously could work. It just means that J. Michael Straczynski was being a little bit dumb when he wrote that.
Yeah. My thing is that I wouldn't, with some of these other characters, maybe some of this could, make sense or work out. But Spider-Man, considering that he's supposed to be a street level character, I really don't like when they tamper and meddle with him of making it sound like there's something else going on. Unless it was like some sort of normal person was put the plant there or something. It's like, it was Aunt May all along.
I honestly would really love a version of Madam Web that's more similar to her from the animated series being involved somehow.
But yeah, that might work. And I know about the Avengers and the Captain America one. That one is that the Avengers weren't the first ones who found Cap. I remember seeing a cover to a Submariner comic many years ago, and he was swinging Captain America's icicled body at a bunch of enemies.
Yep.
Are you referring to Namor? Because this was when Cap was still frozen, and I think it was before the Avengers even found him.
That totally sounds like something Namor would do. Namor is an asshole.
Well, yes. I don't know. It's like, are we talking about Namor finding him first, or somebody else finding him before the Avengers? And Mike, the one thing that it's like, we were talking like before the stream was started. It's, you know, the whole Marvel history is destroyed tag. It's like, this is not a vote of confidence at all.
Yeah. Like, for me, the worst part of The Last Jedi wasn't any of the other bullshit. It was history must end, and, you know, we must burn history to the ground.
Yeah.
And the Jedi and Sith both spontaneously agreeing for like the first time in the history of either order on this one point, which is full postmodernism.
Yeah.
This smacks of historical deconstruction in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
But I am getting an absolute kick out of the image of Namor using a defrosting capsicle as a sword. So
yeah.
Okay.
I may have to look up the image. But changing
Namor is such an asshole. I love Namor.
Yeah.
But you know what? To bring that up, since you brought up that moment in time, what I said is partially right, and they do stuff like, oh, they make it so Captain America was never unfrozen, but the idea of Cap was still around, so they make a whole new Cap to avoid the whole Nazi, storyline. I got this weird feeling about this new Marvel storyline. They're just scaring the hell out of me. They're gonna mess up a lot of stuff and take a lot of people away.
Yeah, I mean, nobody trusts them to handle this properly. No one is trusting them. I'm
telling you, when that whole thing comes, and if I'm right, and they get rid of Peter Parker completely, and Miles Morales is the only Spider-Man, I'm going to beat my head against the wall.
Ditto.
Well, yeah, everyone's going to. Oh wait, hold on. I'm trying to see if I can find the cover I'm thinking of. Submariner.
The one where Namor is fighting using a capsicle?
Captain America. Let me see if I can find it. I know it's a thing. I know I saw it somewhere. I swear, this is not me making it up. I know I've seen it somewhere. I don't know the number though, so
the only problem with the Aquaman apparently being really, really good is that we'll probably never get a Submariner movie now, because they already kind of made Aquaman more edgy than Aquaman usually is, and the whole thing about Submariner is he's basically edgy Aquaman.
Yeah, pretty much. Not having much luck finding it. Darn it. Hold on. Submariner covers. We'll just type that and we'll see.
Actually, I thought Marvel was planning the Submariner movie when they was talking about their 2019, the so-called 2030 lineup. I wouldn't mind seeing the Submariner movie because it's going to be done way different than Aquaman. But the guy that was rumored to play Submariner, he's supposed to be Asian, and I don't know. I don't think an Asian Submariner is going to work.
Submariner kind of, and especially in his older images, he does kind of look Asian.
Yeah, it's not entirely unheard of, and depending on what like Atlantis mythology they're going off of, it can work. My issue is because they made Jason Momoa's Aquaman a lot more like Jason Momoa and therefore kind of more bro-y and edgy, it's going to be hard to distinguish Namor from that, because Namor's like original zeitgeist was he was Aquaman, but if Aquaman had the life philosophy of Dr. Gregory House, basically.
It happened in Avengers #4. Is that the one? I'll type in Avengers #4. Let's see what happens.
That said, I would still love a Submariner movie, because in the Marvel universe, Atlanteans are far more like magic based, and there's frequently crossovers between Namor and Doctor Strange, so that would be very interesting. And also, there's a lot of background between Atlantis and Wakanda, so you could actually introduce the Atlanteans as the antagonist of a Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
And then establish Namor as like the asshole anti-hero you need him to be.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time finding it. Someone will probably send it to Dalton just so that he can get a good laugh out of it. Find him on Twitter and send it to him.
I'm just imagining Namor like, I need a weapon. What shall I use as a weapon? Oh, look, frozen human being. Slap, slap, slap.
Fully encased in
someone over there. Beat someone to death with the defrosting capsicle.
Well, I mean, all the times Hawk has picked up people and hurled them into somebody, I'm not surprised. How many times he tossed Wolverine like a football into the enemy?
Yeah, the fastball special.
Oh yeah, like Colossus has done it with him, Thing has done it with him, the Hawk has done it with him, and I think Juggernaut did it a couple times too.
Yeah.
So we used to seeing stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah.
I want to see somebody grab somebody randomly that's not expected to be thrown into somebody and throw them into an enemy.
Yeah. So we have 12 people here in the chat. Oh, that's nice to see. It's fluctuating between 12 and 13. Thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate it. Send me his Twitter. I can't. I don't.
Okay. My Twitter is the Authenticator, but spelled with no U in it.
Type it in chat if you can.
Okay. I will go to the YouTubes and chat because I was just.
And hello, Maranya. How you doing? Good to see the matriarch hanging out.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the Marvel teaser destruction nonsense. That was fun. I don't know. Has to be a better title or wording for it than destruction. It's like Marvel history changed forever.
Well, I mean, given that they're basically trying to be unnecessarily postmodern about it, for them, that is a good title. It's just for anyone that actually gives even the minorest of damns about, quality or the characters or the integrity of the universe, not so much.
Hey, Xander, how are you? Good to see you. But yeah, you're right. Why are they trying to destroy established origin stories again? I wouldn't say they're trying to destroy origin stories, except for the Fantastic Fours. And the Avengers were a team before Cap was even part of it, so they were already established. The only one that it really messes the origins of is the Fantastic Four. And why? I don't know. People are not satisfied with the basic origins that everybody already knows, or these key moments that everybody should know about.
Well, because they can't create anything that's iconic in their own right, so they basically have to keep going back to the well of the things that are verifiably iconic.
Oh, you're pushing through finals, Xander. Well, I hope you're doing well in finals. Hang in there.
That's the thing that pisses me off with these people, because it's not hard to make your own characters. I mean, granted, there's nothing original under the sun anymore, but that's why I don't watch certain movies too, because in certain movies I'm not going to see, like Aquaman, I have no interest, because creating my own characters, I don't want to watch somebody's stuff and then accidentally, subconsciously start stealing ideas from somebody's idea, somebody else's ideas, and putting it into my own stuff. And I'm trying to make my own original characters, but it's not hard to make original characters. I don't know what's wrong with these people.
See, I kind of come at it from sort of the opposite end, which is that the reason why I don't try to create more original characters is because I have too much respect for the established ones. I would rather just be put in charge of a Dr. Fate story or a Doctor Strange story or a John Constantine story rather than creating my own, because I don't trust myself to create something that is on par with those characters. I would rather just be a steward for those characters. And
well,
that to me is one of the biggest problem with the big two is people forget that the artist is supposed to serve the art. The art is not supposed to serve the artist. When you are writing characters that have existed for 50, 60, 70 years, it's your job to be a servant to that character, to be a proper storyteller for that character, because the character deserves good stories to be told about them.
I mean, does it have to be on par with, what the big two has for several years? I mean, because there's people, not to bring them up, the CG creators have their own IPs that are nowhere near on par as the big two characters, but they believe that one day they might be.
No, but I know, but that's why I don't that's why I don't really create original characters very often, because I don't believe that I could create something on par with those characters. And my whole thing, my raison d'etre is creating things of value, or defending the concept of value as it pertains to reason and rationality.
Yeah. Sorry.
If I can't create something that's at least on par with the characters that I love, I would rather just write for those characters, because Lord knows I'm the only one that can at this point, because everyone else has basically fucked everything up.
I mean, if you show me something of yours original, I guarantee you it has some pretty good luster in there. I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, you never know unless you try.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though Superman's been around for damn near 90 years, people like Batman's been around for damn near like 90 years, Cap's been around for like 80-something years, so forth and so on. The funny thing about that is, I mean, the love for those characters, especially with all the movies and stuff they do about them, the love for those characters is always going to be there. But eventually, people are going to thirst for something new. People are going to sit there and be like, you know what? I'm tired of the same old boring shit. I want to see something different done. So eventually, people are going to want something different and new. And I mean, the people who are creating their own original stuff, like the CG creators, even though all of them, all of them don't appeal to me. Some of them do, not all of them. I mean, that could be a good starting point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Marvel and DC, back in the day, Marvel and DC used to hire off the street and gave people a shot to make their own stuff. Nowadays, if you're not part of the friend circle, or your politics aren't right, if you're not part of a clique, you're not getting into the big two. So you have no choice but to either go over to Japan and hook up with a manga company who lets everybody in, or start your own, make your own stuff and get in through some other way.
Yeah, the thing with like the click thing and whatnot, it's like the industry for comic books is so heavily insulated. There's no real way to break in. They say, "Oh, just make your own books," but as we've seen in the past, it's like, oh, well,
and
someone like diversity.
We're going to morally shame you if
you do
exactly. It for the wrong reasons.
That's exactly what happens. It's like, oh, well, here we are. We're making our own stuff. We'll practice. We'll get better. We'll keep working on it. It's like, no, it's still shit. It's like, well, normally everybody's first projects
because it was never a sincere go and make your own books. It was a tactic of, oh, these people are so pathetic. Look, I'll tell them to go make their own stuff, but none of them will ever do it because they're so mad with impotence. And then, lo and behold, it turns out that the straw man you were fighting was a straw man and not an actual person. And the person in question that you were supposed to be fighting actually went and did the thing you said they wouldn't do. Yeah. Moral shame. How dare you actually do the thing I taunted you not to do, thus proving you were a worthwhile human being.
Part of that is jealousy, though, because some of these people know that some of these IPs is coming out are going to be better than their stuff. So, I mean, it's a tactic with them. I mean, like you said, they say go do it in a sarcastic way, but when you do it and it turns out to be better than what they've done, all of a sudden, all the jealousy and hate comes to the surface. And my whole thing is this. I grew up reading Marvel and DC like everybody else. I grew up reading mythology, supernatural, demonology, my religion. I've studied Wicca. I've studied the Bhagavad Gita, the East Indian holy book. And
you're eclectic, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, from all that put together, I forged my own characters. I mean, I took small, teeny weeny ideas from DC and Marvel. Like, I have like my Juggernaut type characters, or even like my Ford type characters, or my speedsters and everything. But I took small little teeny ideas. I mean, you never know what's going to happen unless you come up with something original. I mean, but put it like this. DC and Marvel was here first. Then years later, you had Japan with their own group of superheroes. And I mean, a lot of people like to say that Goku is a blatant knockoff of Superman, but Goku is so freaking popular these days that his popularity is damn near above Superman's popularity. So I mean, it doesn't hurt.
If you want to, I'd say that in like most the cultural zeitgeist as a whole, they're probably on relative equal par.
Well, here's the thing. People would say that Goku is a knockoff of Superman are too idiotic to realize he is actually inspired by the Monkey King.
Yeah.
He's inspired by the Monkey King.
I'm talking about the whole Saiyan thing, coming to Earth and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
He's still the Monkey
A lot of people go, that's basically just off-brand Kryptonians, yada yada yada. Yeah.
He's still the Monkey King, basically.
Yeah, he's the Monkey King, but a lot of people say that, oh, they just knock off Kryptonians, or it's a Kryptonian story all over again, just done in Japan. A lot of people say that.
Well,
so, I mean, the point I'm trying to make.
A lot of people say that just to dismiss the art form entirely. Like every time a new comic book movie comes out, they always go, "Oh, all superheroes are the same," and then you point out to them the definitive ways that superheroes are different from each other, and it's like, well, but they're still the same. And then I go, okay, yeah, they're going to look the same if you purposefully ignore all of the ways in which they're different from each other, sure.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make in the whole is that I don't want to discourage nobody from making their own things. I mean, Dalton, if you made something, I would read it. I mean, I would give it a fair shot like I give DC and Marvel a fair shot. My whole thing is that nobody should be discouraged of making their own characters or doing their own project or making their own mythology, because at the end of the day, I consider it an omniverse. I mean, if you put it out there and it gets published, it's part of the omniverse. It's part of the same omniverse that holds DC Marvel, that holds Ethan Van Cyberfall, that holds John Miller's Graveyard Shift. It's all part of the omniverse. It's all fictional characters that either people are going to enjoy, well, some are going to enjoy, some are going to hate, some are going to love them to the day they die, and others are going to be like, oh, well, that's corny. I'll stick with what I know. But you never know until you give it a chance.
I see your point, but at the end of the day, for me at least, and this is just applied to me, it's not applied to anybody else, I feel as though I could be more useful writing one of my characters more than I could writing what would inevitably end up being more of a knockoff. Because yes, new characters are great and swell, and the wheels keep turning and everything, and the world keeps spinning and everything, but I would shudder to think of a world in the sadly less distant than I would like future where nobody has any respect for Doctor Strange or Dr. Fate or John Constantine or Dr. Occult or Hellboy or any of the other characters that I love. I would rather try to save them while they're still here, because these characters have lasted for almost a century, a lot of them, for a reason. And I mean, I would shudder to see a century's worth of storytelling and work go to waste just because some people decided to get too high off postmodernism one day.
Yeah, but with that, we gotta get the people that's working at DC and Marvel, in order to get some good people in there that actually care about these characters, like you and me and some other people. These other people either have to be fired or quit. And sadly, no matter what they do, like what Robbie Rodriguez did, or Max Visaggio blatantly false flagging somebody's channel, these people aren't getting fired no time soon. I mean, not to want somebody to lose their job, but if you're sitting there sending butthole pics to people and you're working for a certain company, yeah, you should be fired. If you're sitting there false flagging somebody's channel and you represent this company, yeah, that company should reprimand you. You should be in trouble.
Also, more importantly, your art isn't any good, because let's face it, artists have always kind of been assholes, but they've had the skills to back it up.
Yeah.
Like Steve Ditko or Alan Moore or any other zany out there artist, but they had the skills to back it up. So people, we kind of whitewashed their reputations a little bit accordingly. These people, though, act as though they are the next, Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, or Steve Ditko, and they are nothing of the sort whatsoever.
No, me and John talked about it. I think the last time we did a live stream, we talked about like certain creators, basically being assholes or just being human in general, and they're either terrible people or they're dumb or they make stupid decisions. You always have to remember they're only human. Humans are flawed beings, and they always will make some
True. But when you blatantly send butthole pictures of people, no, that's just disgusting and gross.
Yeah,
obviously repercussions for bad behavior should be taken, Yeah. Remember, John, we talked about the whole, we have to love, well, not just love the art or the artist, but love the characters and not the creator of said characters.
Oh yeah, you talk about the guy that did Rurouni Kenshin and how he just got caught up in that whole child pornography thing.
Exactly. It's like you can still like Rurouni Kenshin.
Here's another example. Neil Gaiman, for a long time, I had a lot of respect for the dude because he managed to stay out of like political discussions. Recently, he's been in that Trump derangement syndrome pretty hard. But that doesn't affect my love of Dream of the Endless. Dream of the Endless is still my second favorite character in all of comics and the star of my most favorite series in all of comics. And that's never going to change. At some point, you have to value the dream more than the person that dreamed it.
Yeah. Unless, of course, people's own personal preferences or their comfort. I mean, the whole thing with like Marvel and DC, people were talking who decided, we're just boycotting. We're not going to buy any more of your books. Or maybe they're selective. I'm not going to buy from this particular creator. It's like, it's all up to someone's own personal decisions and choices, How much can you tolerate? Is there something that you're okay with, or is this something you're not okay with? Does this taint your memory of something? Which in some cases it can.
One thing that I would recommend for anyone that's considering doing that, I
just hold everything down, my dear.
There is always the option of stop buying modern Marvel or modern DC instead still get your DC and Marvel fix, but get it from past storylines. Because these companies have had, almost a century to write stuff, and I'm sure there's stuff that even the diehards haven't read.
Right.
But we live in a world with Amazon and eBay and every other, online
modern
shopping
conveniences
you could want to. So like get into something you haven't gotten into before, or if there is something you've gotten into before but you don't have all of it, trades exist, omnibuses exist, reprints, art, statues, the whole so you can still love and support Marvel and DC, but if the modern ones are fucking it up, then don't buy the modern ones. Buy the old ones, because the old ones are still good. And I think it would be a mistake to completely leave Marvel and DC behind, because that's almost like saying, because this current person isn't doing good or isn't doing something that I consider worthy of the company, that therefore means that all of the other great stories they've ever told aren't good now for reasons. Yeah, and that's a wrong way of going about it.
Yeah, and the thing is like a couple years ago, like before the whole Comicsgate thing even officially started, I pretty much, me and my brother boycotted Marvel. It's like, we're done. We don't want any of this shit. We're sick of your shit. But it's like, even still, it's like boycotts only have an effect if everybody is joining in on it, and there's a lot of people who aren't. So
and I don't
and also considering Marvel's arrogance, they are never going to listen to you anyway, no matter how.
And I don't want to be a complete illegal asshole or anything, but if Marvel has pissed you off to the point that you no longer want to pay for their modern stuff, but you still want to be loyal to the brand and the characters and everything, well, as much as Feisty would probably kill homie for saying this, there are ways that you can obtain the modern issues without paying for them.
I mean, my whole take on that is this. I mean, I can't stomach them no more, because the storylines, and not even pretty much the creators, the storylines and stuff, and the SJW politics is a pain in the neck. That's why I can't stomach either one of them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like me as an example, the last time I paid for a current run Doctor Strange story was, I believe, Way of the Weird. The last time I paid was Last Days of Magic. After that, I was like, fuck it, I will pirate everything that proceeds after this and read it that way, because I'm not abandoning the character, but fuck you, you're not getting my money. And I still will buy old omnibuses and trades of the old stuff, because that is a Doctor Strange I can pay for. The current run is not a Doctor Strange that I would consider paying for, but I'm not going to abandon the character, because the character is being abused and beaten the fuck out of by crappy postmodern gobbledygook.
Yeah.
And that's not his fault.
Yeah, okay, let's go see what's going on in chat because I've been ignoring it. Sorry about that, guys. New Age of Heroes did badly because DC did almost no promotion for it. Yeah, that's how most modern comic book companies are. They push it like at the start for like the first like month or so, and then they just go cold turkey. It's like they're already reading it. We don't need to promote it anymore because it was a pretty decent push. Without the publisher pushing true quality books, they will slip under the radar. This is true. They will. I don't read any new Marvel comics because none of them measure up to what came before. This is a sad but true fact. I buy and read Marvel and DC back issues and trades every week. Good for you, Eric. That's how you should do it.
As you should.
My take on it is this. I don't want Marvel and DC to disappear. But like over in Japan, the anime and the manga that's being created every day, or the characters that's been there for years, like DC and Marvel heroes, the CG creators, the ones that are good, the books that are good, and people coming up with new characters, new heroes, new stories every day. I want it all to exist because somewhere somebody likes it. If you just like Samurai Raccoon put it best one day, and I praise him for saying this. He said, "Write the story that you want to read, the fans will come." 9 times out of 10, if you like it, somebody else likes it. There's a place for all this stuff. I don't read DC and Marvel right now because of, that's not necessarily the creators' behaviors, but the stories they're putting out. It's just they make no sense. They're killing people for no reason. They're changing identities for no reason. They're doing dumb stuff like breaking up Superman and Lois Lane, which is the most iconic comic book couple known to man. When you do stuff like that, no, I'm not going to read you anymore. But my whole thing is I don't want them to disappear. I want them to be around for as long as they can because there's a chance that we could get rid of these idiots that's working there now, get some people in that actually love fiction, because you have to love fiction to write these fictional stories that actually do these characters some justice. But at the same time, make your cyber frogs, make your graveyard shifts, or make your whatever you're making, and it all fits into the omniverse. For a long time, I didn't get into anime and manga because I was stuck on Marvel and DC. Completely stuck with them, like, oh, it ain't nobody better than Captain Superman. They run this. Ain't nobody better. I used to slam the hell out of Dragon Ball fans and say Goku was a waste of time, a piece of crap character. Never will anybody in Japan ever touch DC and Marvel. But then I started watching Dragon Ball. I started watching Fist of North Star. I started watching Sailor Moon, Ranma Half, Roni Kenshin, Ronin Warriors, Saint Seiya. I grew up watching Godzilla. Godzilla is a Japanese property and one of the most iconic characters out there in the world of fiction. There's room for all these characters everywhere. And even though I don't read Cyberfrog or it doesn't appeal to me, there's room for Cyberfrog. There's room for my characters. There's room for my characters I'm working on. There's room for the characters that Stephen King and Anne Rice and everybody else created. There's room for all this stuff. I don't want none of it to go nowhere because it all fits that one beautiful, gigantic omniverse of fictional media that we all love.
Yeah. Hello, Rabbit. Sorry I didn't say hi sooner. I was letting John, get on the soapbox, so to speak. But I agree with him on it. Surprised they don't create more heroes by making good use of the multiverse both companies have effectively. They have so much potential to make new heroes, the top dogs in their own world. Yeah, it's true.
Well, and this is one of the other reasons why I'm skeptical of the just create new heroes attitude is if someone creates a new hero every time the old guard or the old heroes get fucked over, then no one's gonna ever be looking after the old heroes, and then they will.
I hear I hear what you're saying, Dalton. I get that. And it would be nice that if Marvel and DC had better caretakers.
Yeah,
obviously.
I say feel free to create new characters as soon as the old characters are being well taken care of.
If it's within the realm of both Marvel and DC, yeah, I would say hold off on creating new stuff and try and fix.
Well, yeah, if you have an already established mythos that already works, don't get so gung-ho with reinventing everything. Don't reinvent the wheel when the ones you have are one good mechanic away from being perfectly functional. And if Marvel and DC woke up to if the people who run Marvel and DC woke up tomorrow and they started writing like all of the Neil Gaiman level stories, then I would be like, okay, you have earned the right to go ahead and create as many new characters as you want because you clearly have a handle on how the old characters are supposed to work.
Yeah,
But
that's within Marvel and DC. But outside of Marvel and DC, like Shonen Jump in Japan and all these other companies like Capcom, SNK, Namco, and Arc Systems, they've been creating damn good characters. Terry Bogard, SNK, my man, Ryu Hoshi, Capcom, my dude. What's the Ragnar the Blood Edge, Arc System. That's my Negro. That is my Negro. Can't nobody take that away from me. These characters have a place up there next to Superman and Cat, which I hold in high regard still, even though DC and Marvel are screwing them both up right now. They earn their right up there. Goku has a place up there. Kenshiro has a place up there. Like I said, Battle Maid, Knuckle Bomb, Cyber Frog, my characters, the Grand Crusade, they all have a right to be up there. I don't want to discourage anybody from making something new. But I mean, outside of DC and Marvel, these jackanapes are going to keep screwing them up. Okay, if you still choose to read it, go ahead and read it. You still want to support them, go ahead and support them. I don't want them to go anywhere. But at the same time, we do need some fresh stuff. Not necessarily reinventing Superman, because you can't reinvent Superman. You can't reinvent Cat. You can't reinvent the Hulk. You can't reinvent Thor.
Copyright.
You can't. It's not even copyright. You can't reinvent Goku, but you can make new characters who are just as great as these characters that we all hold dear and love.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking strictly in terms of Marvel and DC for the moment, don't try to create new characters when your old characters are on life support.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be trying to make an addition to your house if your house is made of driftwood and built on a foundation of sand here. And as far as you know, that is the case right now. And by the way, it is, because all your characters are getting fucked over. See that you have your house in order, and then make additions to it.
Yeah, basically take the core characters that everybody knows and loves and focus on trying to repair them. And for a while, DC was doing that, and Marvel was, I think, once CB actually initially came in, we were starting to see at least a little bit of a tone and a shift change to try and get it back on track. But the thing is that they're chasing these, not just people say they're chasing that invisible audience or an audience that's not interested in comics. It isn't just that. They fall victim to their own, what is the appropriate
greater good?
No, their own idiosyncrasies, the behaviors that's ingrained within them, within their own culture, that has been happening for decades. Variant covers, new characters, new number ones, reboots, relaunches, events. They have all of these things going on at the same time, and it's a goddamn crutch that's preventing them from moving forward. Or to focusing on the things that they need to focus on. Because it's like, we got to chase that money. We got to make money. That's the key. That's the goal. It's like, you guys are bleeding money right now. You're going to keep bleeding money until you fix the problems. People tell you what the problems are, and it's a fairly large contingent. You need to address it, fix the problem and issues, get on track, and then you can try new things or different things, or you can make an event or two.
Try to make good individual issues, and you will, by the end, if every issue you make is good, you will end up with a good storyline. But if you try to make a good storyline and none of the issues within it are any good, then you will only get a good storyline out of it the 1 in 1,000 times when the individual pieces somehow click together better than the individual stories did.
Right. What's going on, chill in chat? Excuse me. Fear itself had a lot of good moments, but it was bloated and signaled the beginning of the end. Yes. Well, actually, I would say Secret Invasion was the beginning of the end. But that's just me personally.
I keep forgetting that your guys' beginning of the end was a lot later than my beginning of the end. For me, the beginning of the end with my two favorite characters was Day of Vengeance in the tie-in to Crisis on Infinite Earth, really, ended up ruining Dr. Fate, and it was the last great Doctor Strange story was the second volume of Strange Tales in like I want to say 89. So
yeah, well, actually, I should reiterate the death nail for at least for Marvel for me would probably have been One More Day. That was when things started going downhill and changing, not for the better. Ruining my favorite character is a very big no-no. At first, I didn't really mind it. I was like, okay, I'll still read Spider-Man, but eventually I got sick of it. And there were some decent stories that Dan wrote. The only two I can think of that I actually thought were at least mildly enjoyable was Gauntlet and Grim Hunt. That's it. Those were the only two that I found remotely interesting and fun to read, at least. But the destruction of a character's, moral. I already did that. I did that video. So just, what was it? Like over 2 years ago, probably, or so, or it'll be 2 years from now currently. When I did the Spider-Man is morally bankrupt, he's been morally bankrupt for years. He made a goddamn deal with the devil. Like an idiot.
And my character did nothing to stop him, despite the fact that his entire purpose is to stop people from doing shit like that.
Yeah.
And Mephisto is like a mid-tier villain for Doctor Strange. So if Doctor Strange had been written well during One More Day, this would have been solved in like 5 minutes. He would have made the deal. Doctor Strange would have showed up, curb stomped the shit out of Mephisto, left him bleeding in a
the thing is
Doctor somewhere, and then the deal would have been annulled.
Thing is, Doctor Strange could have solved the problem.
Yeah,
he didn't even have to get involved with Mephisto. Mephisto doesn't come into the story until near the very end. It's like all you need to do is treat an elderly woman from a bullet hole.
No, on that point, I will defend him. The point he was trying to make to Peter is the exact same point the Ancient One made to Strange all those years ago, which is you have to let yourself go so that you can do things. You have to learn how to lose these loved ones because it's done basically by natural causes. The reason why Strange didn't help Spidey with the whole Aunt May is dying thing is because even if someone had solved the bullet issue, she would have died in 10 years anyway, and Peter would have been drawn to this exact same spiral because the main point is, Peter, you need to learn how to let go. You need to learn how to move on. She would prefer you move on. Everyone else would prefer you move on. It is better for you in the spiritual long run that you move on. Yeah. So I am going to draw this line in the sand, and I'm not going to help you in this instance so that you will then grow as a person. Yeah. That's what Strange was doing when he refused to treat Aunt May in the One More Day. That part was actually Strange being somewhat on point. It was, I'm going to do this for you because it will be better for you in the long run, as opposed to giving you what you want, because sometimes getting what you want isn't what you need.
Yeah.
The problem was I think that Mephisto showed up and Strange did nothing after that. That was the issue where I went, okay, you are not doing what you should be doing, Strange. What the fuck?
Yeah. Good night, Rabbit. Also, thank you for the gauntlet joke. I appreciate it. I mean, Peter also went to other people. He went to like Reed and other assorted members.
He went to Tony Stark, and Tony Stark basically spit in his face because of the whole Civil War thing.
Yeah.
And speaking on that note, Civil War was the crossing point for me. The first Civil War, like, I lost my whole taste for Marvel.
Yeah. I was okay with the story, at least to some extent. There were parts of it I didn't like, but I liked the overall idea of it. But considering that it literally destroyed Iron Man, it made him way too unlikable of a character. And it almost did the same for Cap. Cap was bordering on that shit too.
Yeah. I think original Civil War was when the downward spiral started for the Marvel Universe as a whole.
For DC, it was basically DC had their issues, but their issues started with like New 52. And probably a little bit before then with all of the Crisis events. It's like, stop doing it.
I honestly, as good as Infinite Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earths was, I think in the long run that was probably a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, actually, that was cool, but the mistakes for the stuff that happened after, like 0 Hour and all those other big wars they had, Our Worlds at War, all the other crazy stuff.
But that's the thing. The reason why these tropes keep getting repeated is because the one time they managed to make it work, it really fucking worked. But if we're being as objective as possible, you have to throw in the one time it worked along with all the times it didn't, because it's and I can't believe I'm saying this in a way that I'm saying it, but it's kind of like how you can't really blame all of the Twilight ripoffs and all the Harry Potter ripoffs and all of the and all of those kind of YA ripoffs for the YA trend when it started with one that actually worked. And the same thing is true for a lot of my characters. Like I said, the last great Dr. Fate storyline, in my opinion, was Day of Vengeance, when the Spectre went fucking insane and started killing all the magic users. That story worked. It was a really good story, and it was a part of Crisis on Infinite Earths. But looking back now, I'm skeptical of whether that was a good idea. Just because it was a good story in the moment doesn't mean it was a good idea in the long run. Same thing with kind of Civil War. It was a good story. It was a flawed story, but a good story. But it did start that downward spiral that led to things like One More Day and the infinite regression of the Clone Saga and every other bad thing that happened in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah,
and where are we now?
Yeah, there's I was thinking of something and I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, Dalton.
It's like for me, you can take a beautiful piece of art like the Mona Lisa, and you can do a photocopy of it. And the first couple photocopies of it will actually be somewhat good, but by the 50th photocopy, you will end up with something that looks like it was shot out by Jackson Pollock. Perhaps literally, if you've ever looked at a Jackson Pollock painting. It's not far off. So, yeah, you have to include the one-off times that it worked into the parts that didn't, because it wouldn't have been repeated 1,001 times if it didn't work that one first time. And the thing that Marvel and DC both have issues with is they'll do these one-off deconstructive stories like The Dark Knight Returns or like Death of Superman or something along those lines, and it will be a big seller because it was what was needed at that moment, or Watchmen, or basically anything made by Alan Moore or Frank Miller as a whole.
Yeah, it was something that was different.
When you try to apply that one-off deconstructive attitude to literally everything that ever existed ever, you will end up with bollocks, because not everyone is Alan Moore or in his prime Frank Miller, and even Alan Moore and Frank Miller can't sustain that kind of creative energy for long, vis-a-vis what happened to Frank Miller after Dark Knight Returns and what happened to Alan Moore pretty much after Watchmen and V for Vendetta. So yeah, just because it worked miraculously one time and it was really what the comic industry needed doesn't mean that's what every comic should be for the rest of fucking time.
Yeah,
and if you take the attitude of this one miraculous thing must therefore be what the comic book industry must be from here till the end of time, you will inevitably ruin anything that was special about the original and inevitably create a bunch of shitty copies that will show you all of the 1,001 ways that original miracle could have gone wrong.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, there's a reason why there's typical tropes in comic books. It's like a character dies, they get reborn. It's all, like Dalton was saying, a lot of those, you can only do it so many times before it loses its appeal. You can only deconstruct a hero so many times until people have lost interest in
until you can only dissect a frog so many times before the frog is no longer alive, and you basically just end up with a jar of disembodied frog guts. And if you smash those down to the point, you'll end up with disembodied frog puree. And eventually, you end up with frog goo in a jar.
Add to that little aspect right there. You know what they should have did? Both companies, they both should have just did a big major event like once every couple of years, because people did start getting event fatigue when Marvel and DC did a new big event. They went from like every, I don't know, 7-8 months to like every 6 months to like every other month. You know, people get tired of big events.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, when they did things to like try to gain readership, like when they killed off Superman, they brought him back less than a year later after they made this big deal about Doomsday killing him. And then during around the same time, Batman got crippled by Bane. And Wonder Woman was like basically point of time of just her and the rest of the Justice League. And she got her ass kicked by a Doomsday hologram. I don't know how the hell that happened, but a Doomsday hologram beat her ass in the issue. And it's like, okay, so the Trinity is down and out. If DC really wanted to do something that lasted a long time or made a big impact back then to now, they should have kept Superman dead for several years, had other people try to fill his shoes, kept Batman crippled for several years like they did with Barbara Gordon, and have Dick Grayson and all the other ones carry the mantle for a while, have Wonder Woman taken out for a couple of years, have her in the back burner somewhere, let the rest of the DC universe, people like Dr. Fate and Captain Marvel, Shazam, not Carol Danvers, and Green Lantern and all of them, you know, sort of make like a come up and prove their weight and prove their worth. And then when you did another big event, make it so, oh, Superman's back from the dead. Oh, Bruce Wayne's walking again. Oh, Wonder Woman's back out of hiding from embarrassment. And they could have did something that lasted years and years to come. Just the same thing with Marvel and stuff like the first Civil War and stuff like that. They should have made it so there was lasting, repercussions, that things would change on a gigantic scale, and then I don't know, like a couple years down the line, do a storyline where everything comes full circle. You bring Cat back, Iron Man redeems himself. Thor comes back from exile, wherever the hell he was. Hawk redeems himself from the whole World War Hawk thing. All that other stuff that happened, and then you build from there. You can still keep the storylines fresh and still do what you got to do and bring in readers and make money.
Yeah. Underworld Dream, yes. The idea for Battle of the Cowl was a good one. I actually like that because we didn't know if Batman was dead or not. He was claimed dead. That was actually a pretty decent story, actually. I didn't have any issue with them killing off Batman temporarily and then people taking over. Because that's when I actually started to actually get into reading their DC's books and whatnot. And Battle for the Cowl is pretty good. I have it. It's a good story. Yes, they killed Batman, but that's fine.
Speaking of twists on characters that happened after the temporary monumental death of them, I honestly would have preferred to see Detective Chimp be Dr. Fate for a while. Because after Naboo, quote unquote, died against the Spectre in Day of Vengeance, Detective Chimp was Dr. Fate for a while. And while it annoyed me at the time, seeing how they've shit the bed and made the possession kind of thing afterwards, I kind of would have wanted to see Detective Chimp, Master of the Mystic Arts. that would have. I would have liked Chimp, Agent of Order. That
would have been funny.
Because you're never ever going to be able to touch Kent Nielsen pre-possession retcon. So don't. If you truly and decently want to make the character different, then make the character different. So Monkey Dr. Fate, why the fuck not? That would have been different enough that it wouldn't have been like you're just trying to copy Kent, and it would have been different enough that people would have been able to go, okay, meaningful change has occurred to this character because the main Dr. Fate, Kent Nielsen, is no longer Kent. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's going on in chat? They're talking about an individual. What is his name?
And yes, Maranya, drink. Please, by all means, drink. Yeah.
they're talking about Bill Jemas, who ran Marvel between 2000 and 2004. He said continuity is for losers and hired his Hollywood Z-list friends to write. And for 1 year, Scott Bialsi in more books than Doctor Doom. Yeah. And yeah, say what you will about Joe Quesada, but at least Marvel and comic book universe again, complete with continuity. Yeah. I still think Joe is a hack. So what if Hawkman became Dr. Fate? That's an interesting one.
They kind of sort of already did that because one of the better Dr. Fates that wasn't Kent Nielsen, in my opinion, was Hector Hall, who was the offspring of Hawk and Dove. So they kind of already played most of what they could do with Hawkman as Fate out with that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd like to see it. The problem with making characters that have their own distinct identities take on the mantle of Fate, and this is one of the reasons why I despise the possession retcon, because it really limits the potential for these kind of things, is you will end up having a storyline where Hawkman isn't around, or Captain Marvel, by which I mean the character now called Shazam, is not around because one of them decided to don the Helmet of Fate one day. So instead of doing that, which would actually make a certain degree of sense and would just kind of annoy some people, DC does this thing where they pick out like the most crappy, barely a magic users to be the bearers of the helm instead of actually doing what anyone would do and have substantive magic users. Like, as much as I hate that they use the possession retcon in Young Justice, making Zatara the next Dr. Fate after Kent actually makes a degree of sense because he's a master magician in his own right. And more importantly, he's a master of magics that Naboo doesn't necessarily know. So it actually adds to Fate's mystic repertoire that Zatara's magic, which is definitively weaker than Dr. Fate should be, but different enough that it actually adds to Fate's knowledge base. If you did that a couple of successive iterations to the point where Naboo was actually learning something about magic and Dr. Fate got excessively more powerful or excessively more knowledgeable, which is actually slightly more accurate, it would have actually made sense. But no, instead what they do is, oh, this person was, the 5/8 descendant of a medium this one generation ago. So they have enough mystic potential to be the vessel for Naboo, and Naboo's just going to ride them like a suit. Fuck off.
Yeah. Some of them are trolling you right now, Dalton.
Yes, I know. It was inevitable. Anytime I go on for more than a minute, it's inevitable that I'm going to be trolled because I ramble.
Yeah. Well, they know how much you love the magic characters and whatnot.
Yes, I do. And also, Mark Wade could go fuck himself.
To add to that, gentlemen, that goes back to what I said. If they would have kept Supes and Batman and Wonder Woman out the circle for a while, you could have built up Shazam, you could have built up Dr. Fate, you could have built up Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and all those other characters, Santana, Flash, and have them run things for a while. You could have made, because of his Wisdom of Solomon, because he is a good character strategically and with wisdom, you could have had Shazam run the team for a while the big three were down and out. And DC could have built up all the other characters that are lesser known or don't get the spotlight like that. And then one day just have a big battle, something that they can't win. And then you resurrect Superman. Then Batman's back gets healed. Then Wonder Woman returns from wherever the hell she was at. And then you bring the whole entire big, beautiful Justice League together. You kick ass, but then you keep the characters that you built up while Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman were gone. You still keep them in the spotlight because they earn their place now. Yeah. Because personally, I love Shazam, and I'm tired of him getting crapped on and being under Superman's shadow because, one, people don't either know how to write Captain Marvel, or two, they're still holding on to that Fawcett Comics bull crap where DC considered Fawcett an enemy and that whole lawsuit that lasted for over 20 years. Shazam needs more of a spotlight.
And while we're here, Marvel, I understand that your name is Marvel and that's glorious and perfect and everything, but can you at least allow DC to call him Captain Marvel again, please?
I would like that.
I'm so sick of him being
Guys,
called
let it
Shazam.
both Marvel and DC, let it go, guys. Just let it go. Just let it go.
And also, while we're here, bring back the Amalgam Universe, because the Amalgam Universe was fucking badass.
I'd like to see more of that. That would be fun. If you want to bank on my nostalgia and whatnot and want me to pay money for nostalgia, that might be a way to get me to buy a comic book. Eric, you need to go back to the naughty corner. No one says mean things about Nightwolf when I'm around. Oh, well, thank you.
And also, Maranya, if Gabby Rivera even gets in the same zip code as Doctor Strange, I might explode scanner style and take you all with me, because fuck everything.
Who could be worse than Slot on Iron Man? I don't believe I can take much more abuse of poor Tony Stark Iron Man from Bendis to now. I feel you. I understand that completely. I like Iron Man, and I have no desire to read whatever Dan Slott is writing. And I didn't like what Bendis wrote for the character either. I didn't read any of them, but from reviews, I was like, no, this is stupid. I hate this. I mean, I think it was Matt Fraction who was writing Iron Man at the time after Civil War, because that was when I was reading Iron Man comics. I think so. And that stuff was good to a point. I have most of that run upstairs in my long boxes. Anyway, we did have other stuff to talk about other than Marvel destroying itself even further. Because there was an announcement from Shonen Jump that I wanted to discuss with everybody. And I'm going to screen share again.
We still got time to do that, right?
Yes, I'm going to cover this.
Because everybody believes that Shonen Jump is about to bury Marvel and DC.
Yes. In a sense, yes. Because we have this short announcement video from Shonen Jump that came out. Basically, guys, if you haven't been interested in manga, now might be a good time to do so, because they're offering you free stuff. Well, not only free stuff, but also budgeted stuff. They're sharing the majority of their library. I don't know how much of the library. I think it's over 10,000 chapters of the books that they have for $2 a month.
Well, damn.
That is quite the announcement. I don't know. I guess I could play this video if I wanted to, but there is a link down below for the video if anybody wants to watch it. But
you should be able to play it, just screen share and full screen it.
Well, yeah. Hold on a second. Let me click the full screen, and there we go.
There we go. Yep.
Okay. So yeah. Okay, yeah. So this gentleman here used to be a former editor-in-chief at their company, which is good news because he's now seems to be working with the Western Group now. So anyway. Interesting, isn't it? He's such a lovely gentleman. There you go, guys. There you go. You have no excuse now. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody that they don't want to read manga. You have none.
And also, can we just take a moment to realize that for less than the price of the average Marvel monthly comic, you can basically have decades worth of manga.
Yeah. No, Eric, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to trigger him any further than you guys already have.
Okay, what? Now I'm looking. Don't
look.
Don't force Nightwolf into your fucking crusade. I'll look, for fuck's sake.
No, I mean, not just that.
What, John? Hello?
Yeah, give me a second. Continue.
Oh yeah, sorry. But yeah, this was good news for me. I'm happy about this. I'm gonna go and probably check out the app itself, see how well it functions and whatnot. And
Eric Breen, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
You're gonna give the poor man an aneurysm. Stop it.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore. That thought was enough to make me want to no longer exist.
Yes, you're right, Maverick. Shonen Jump is looking out for the broke boys. Yes, they're looking out for all of us poor people. The books on how to draw manga. I can't get the hang of that art style.
Actually, Shonen Jump is looking out. They've done something like this before. Every time DC and Marvel messes up, or one of the other ones, you got Japanese companies that step in to try to fill the void. It's not even just the manga companies; it's the video game companies and stuff too, and stuff of that nature. I mean, that goes back to what I was saying, that people do need to give new things a try. I mean, I was ignorant back in the day, like I said. It was a point in time where I was like, it's all about DC and Marvel. Who are these other so-called heroes from across the ocean? I mean, you got to give different things a try, and you end up seeing beautiful heroes, beautiful landscapes, beautiful stories. And I'm gonna say this: even though it's a video game, Blaze Blue, from Calamity Trigger all the way to the last Blaze Blue game, Central Fiction, is one of the most beautiful visual novel / fighting games there is. That story. That beautiful story in all games, like the story is at least like 7-8 hours, something like that. Yo, all together, that it would get you. It's a tear jerker, it's a heart jerker, it's a beautiful, well done story. Yeah. But you got to be willing to give different things a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing more people who I've hung out with in the past and whatnot be more interested in reading manga. Douglas Ernst has been he did an entire video talking with his wife, who's more interested in, in Japanese media than he is. And, it's at least has it on his radar now. Professor Geek's been at least watching My Hero Academia, which is a good starting point for him. There are many others I'm hoping to share with him and others. Because believe it or not, there are some books out there that were either written by Stan Lee or Stan Lee had actual influence on. I found 2. Actually, I think he has 3 now.
And if whatever's stopping you from reading manga is the lack of like superhero content, allow me to introduce you to the great granddaddy of all comics, namely the pulps. The Shadow, Solomon Kane, and Elric of Meldemanay. You're welcome. You may thank me later.
Yes. What was it? I mean, also the fact that in a sense, also Shonen Jump kind of threw shade at the pirating sites too. Where it's like, it's legitimate, it's safe. You don't have to steal anymore, guys. We're giving it to you now. Please just purchase our stuff, okay? Just give us a couple of dollars. I mean, if people have internet access, I think they can sacrifice a couple of dollars to Shonen Jump. I really don't think that's too much to ask for. Even if the price was more than that, I think that the library alone would be worth it. It's like, what is it? Marvel, how much is Marvel Unlimited? Does anybody know? I think I heard someone say that it's like $10.
Yeah, I want to say it's around 10.
Or at the very least.
But last time I looked, it was like 10 or 12.
at bare minimum, it's like what? At bare minimum, I think I saw it for at one point. I think it was like $7 or something along those lines. But that's might not be the case anymore. Maybe now they raise the price. And of course, yeah, you have DC Universe Online. I have, or wait, no, that's not. Is that how you say it? No, it's not. It's just called DC Universe. I'm sorry. Universe Online is a video game. My bad. I lapsed in judgment.
Fair point, Underworld Dream, but how many hours of entertainment can you get for those $2 without getting this? Versus how many could you if you got this?
You think it's around $15, Joan? Yeah. If that's the case, that's terrible because you don't even get, as far as I know, you're not getting the new books. You have to wait a few months before you can even get the books that were released within the month. Because this one is, Shonen's giving you the chapters immediately when they, come out in Japan. That's a pretty good deal, in my opinion. You could be all caught up with your favorites, if you have any. It's like, hey, I could catch up on My Hero Academia, and I only have to pay $2 for it. And I don't know, maybe there'll be a free version too. Maybe there's, they're just ads or something, advertising stuff. Even if that's the case, I'd still be willing to give it a try. And everyone is talking about the spirit. That's cool.
Yes.
But and like I think we were mentioning it earlier, it's like there's nothing preventing people from pirating pretty much anything, and there's nothing preventing people from pirating Marvel and DC books. Maybe Marvel and DC will finally learn that maybe there's a market for cheaper and more affordable products that still are decent quality.
Yeah, I think hopefully the quality one is the one that is to be paid, because if they asked me to pay $10, but I was actually getting a story that was worth $10, I wouldn't mind paying it. But the thing is, you're giving me something that wouldn't even be worth the single dollar or a couple, quarters it was worth back in 1970, and you're making me pay 10, 11 times what the original price of those would have been. So the fuck. I know,
Yeah.
I know inflation is a thing, but inflation is only a thing insofar as all of the things are equal, and all of the things are not currently equal because your quality is shit.
Yeah. And I mean, from what I understood from the Shonen Jump announcement, because I think I saw that there was like another trailer too, they do have a 7-day, free trial period as well. So you can check it out at least.
Binge.
Yes. Find a book that looks interesting and give it a shot. There's plenty out there that Shonen has published over the years.
Yes.
The ones that I know mainly they're shonens and they're mainly for young boys and whatnot, but they've been trying new stuff too. So there's plenty of stuff out there to give a whirl to. The new chapters are going to be free, pretty much. That's what he said. Free. Well, it's not probably entirely free. I'm sure that there's a catch to it somewhere, but still, at the same time, I'd be willing to pay $2 a month for it because it is supporting Shonen Jump. It is supporting comic books, supporting their comic books in particularly, which I am still a fan of. So their creators haven't pissed me off at this point. I wonder, the one thing that had me wondering though is I was wondering if there would be other, manga studios in Japan that would take up the same idea. I mean, Shonen Jump is the biggest publisher, but there are others out there. Wonder if they'll think of doing the same thing. I mean, their books are already relatively cheap for chapters and whatnot. I think there was a new one from the creator of Fairy Tail, and it's like $1. 5 for 20 pages. $5 for 20 pages of garbage is ridiculous.
If it was 20 pages of Neil Gaiman in his prime writing Sandman, then that would be a steal. But alas, the quality is an important variable that everyone is ignoring, and that's what I'm here for. Because I'm the guy that pipes up and goes, but merit. And as much as people mock me for going, but merit, if it's the only question that no one is asking, then I feel perfectly justified in being the one guy that asks it.
See, that's the problem, though. I mean, some of these people who are great, like you said, like Neil Gaiman and what's the name, Alan Moore and all them, they could be great again if they pace themselves. What they tried to do, they kicked out too much, in too little time instead of spacing themselves out. I mean,
great. They hit their primes. Is what happened.
If you did great stories at one point in time, you could do great stories again. But you got to pace yourself, and you can't be frustrated. You definitely can't write while being frustrated, or even people who draw. You can't draw while being frustrated. You got to, do what you got to do. Pace yourself. You got to ignore certain things. You got to block out certain negativity. And a lot of people thinking, oh, that's cowardly. That's running. No, if you're blocking out negativity to get the job done, that's not being a coward. You're just not letting negativity nowhere near, your life. You can easily turn people out. You could block things. You could block people, and you could be great again. There's been a lot of pressure put on some of these good artists and good writers. That's why one day they're freaking amazing and everybody's buying their stuff. And the next day they're, people say, oh, they're lackluster. Even with people who they say can't write. Like, I'm sorry. Say what you will about Mads. She has her issues need to be worked out, but she got nominated for an Eisner. All things considered, she had to be doing something right. It's not like she doesn't have a fan base. She does have a fan base, and she does have a lot of people who stand behind her. But, like I said before in another stream, some of these people are good writers and good artists. They're just writing and drawing for the wrong books. Like, they should be.
They don't
instead of trying to aim towards an adult audience. If they try to aim towards maybe a younger audience with their art style, their writing style, they might be able to, hit some nails on the head.
Yeah. Jonah, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Would you mind rephrasing that question?
What is Joan saying?
It's worded weird.
Is it important to have a gold world along with the characters and system there?
I'm uncertain what you're asking. Please rephrase.
Well, when it comes to like world building and stuff, look at Final Fantasy. Sometimes in Final Fantasy, the world is more important than the characters, or the state of the world drives the characters. That's what makes Final Fantasy so beautiful, because no Final Fantasy is the same characters except for Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. But other than that, all Final Fantasies are different Earths, or their version of an Earth, different stories, different characters, but they all have one thing in common. There's always this one guy or girl who is crazy, a megalomaniac, trying to become some type of all-powerful god, angel, to rule the universe, whatever crazy thing. But, in a lot of places in Final Fantasy, the worlds and the planets that they're on are more important than the people on the planet, and it helps build to the story. Look at Final Fantasy VII. The world of Final Fantasy VII and what was going on with the Mako reactors and stuff was just as important as the characters in the story.
Yeah. And one of my favorites. Yeah, there is. I want to address Maverick's comment here. Yes, there is a block option. Some of these people want the negativity. This is true. I'm not going to deny you, Maverick. Some of the comic book creators and writers, they feed off of it. They use it to improve their popularity or to
not only that, they want to see themselves as the victim. Therefore, they can justify fighting what they consider to be the oppressive, traditionalistic patriarchy, air quotes.
Yeah, you're right.
Because this is the often not examined thing that I've noticed about millennials, and this, I know because I am one. A lot of us grew up on the kinds of stories like Dead Poet Society or Patch Adams, or those kind of stories where the point of the story was maverick, unusual person fights against hyper-traditionalistic, oppressive system. I think one of the reasons why there are so many fucking SJWs and why so many millennials are primed for SJW ideology is because we were sold that idea as kids of the maverick individualist wanting to fight against the oppressive system, but most of the big oppressive systems that existed were previously dealt with by, previous generations. The civil rights movement, the voting rights movement, so on and so forth. So instead of getting out of that mindset, they want to see themselves as the hero, so they find things that make them the victim, therefore they can make themselves the hero. Because of modern social justice ideology, the only kind of true hero is a victim of something. That's where social justice comes in. It basically takes that desire to be an idealistic individualist who wants to fight against the system and weaponizes it to tether it to postmodern ideology.
We live on the West Coast. Of course it's raining. Sorry, my brother just got home. Well, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Well, I know that there's the thing is that also there's people who, they feed off of it. They feed off the negativity. They feed off the fighting and the drama and all this other nonsense. It's the same. It's why people like certain individuals like Mags or Daryleo or anybody is even known at this point is because they stirred up a hornet's nest and got people pissed off.
That's why when Gamergate was in its prime, we had the hashtag literally who for people who were made famous by their victimhood, and we weren't going to acknowledge their victimhood, like Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian and basically everyone else that was on the anti-GG side of Gamergate.
Yeah, but there are also someone who are, well, I guess you could say it's like you got people who are more provocateurs or they're trying to start shit anyway, and they keep bringing it up.
That's why we need to bring back the literally who hashtag. Anytime someone tries to be deliberately provocative, just respond literally who.
Yeah.
Refuse to give them the name recognition because that's all they want.
Yeah. So, what do we got? Oh, interesting. My brother bought some movies. We got Batman Ninja and Dunkirk. Okay, that's cool.
Dunkirk sucks. I'm sorry.
Well, my brother's the one who spent the money, not me.
Okay. Well, if you like war movies, you might potentially get something out of Dunkirk.
Yeah, he likes some of the war movies, and he likes to watch a lot of like World War II history and stuff like that. He bought a used copy of the board game Axis and Allies, so.
Okay. Well, then I'm sure he will enjoy Dunkirk, despite the fact that Christopher Nolan has basically no soul, creatively speaking.
Christopher Nolan has no soul, creatively speaking. Well, good to know.
This has always been my main issue with Christopher Nolan. He can do things on a technical level immaculately. He's like a robot in that he can manage all of the technical aspects of filmmaking with, an artist's brush. But when it comes to developing any kind of character or soul to anything that in his movies, it's either not there or it's not the result of him. It's the result of one of his actors. Like, for example, the only watchable Christopher Nolan Batman movie is The Dark Knight, not because of what Christopher Nolan did or what Christian Bale did, but because of what Heath Ledger was doing the whole time.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Joan asking, hey, Dalton, could you help me with a magic system for a one-shot comic for someone?
Sure. Do you have Discord, Jonah Arts?
Yes, he does.
Okay, well,
I'm pretty sure because he talks to me on occasion, so.
Yeah, either find me on Twitter and I'll give you the link to my Discord, or find me on Discord and I'll give you the link to my Discord and we can talk about it that way.
Yeah. Sounds like fun though. That you're getting hate, that's bad. That's a bad look on you as professional, and you should probably get on social media. Yes, that's exactly the point. if you're getting this much bad press, maybe you should not be on social media. if you have such a bad ego and a bad behavior
here's the thing with that. The thing with that is easily dealt with. You got people out here like talking about the Marvel DC pros and even the CG pros who claim they know how to, who beat their chest like King Kong and say, "Oh, I can handle criticism." Then when you give them criticism, you see the opposite. You see the exact opposite. And instead of sending somebody away with a kind word, because you got to be kind to these people no matter what they say to you. And I've been preaching that for the longest time. I mean, I've been trolled because of the CG movement. I've been cursed out and I've been told. And, and I've seen pros like Donald DeLay, he's done it. I've seen pros and people say, "Oh, writers suck. The writing doesn't matter. And it's all about the artwork. And I'm a writer." So that bugs the hell out of me. And annoys me when artists say, "Oh, writing is easy." No, the hell it's not.
No,
because you can't just write something down, submit it, and Shazam, you're published. No, there's spell checks, there's grammar, there's a whole lot of things you got to do when writing the story. You got to make sure it's appealing. You got to make sure continuity is correct. You got to make sure you stay correct with the characters' traits, with their abilities, with the things you got going on. And if you start a point at the world. If you start a point at the beginning of the story and you go back to it later on, you got to make sure that point you start at the beginning is the same as the point you're going back to, because then you have inconsistency. And that is not, I'll repeat, that is not a good thing to have. So I understand that artists go for a lot. A lot of artists say, oh, we hate drawing, but we do it because we love it and we do it because we're trying to make money. I respect that. I respect all artists out there because it is hard to draw. It's very hard. And just like writers, you could both get carpal tunnel from both activities. Writing and drawing both gives you carpal tunnel. Writing and drawing both gets you arthritis in your hands faster than anything else will give you arthritis in your hands. So it's a lot to deal with from both sides. So when you got artists sitting there saying, "Oh, writers don't got it hard, they got it easy," no, that's a smack in the face on the other side of the medium, because writing and drawing on two different spectrums. I respect all artists because I know how hard it is to sit there, get in the mood, and make sure it's beautiful enough to not just you like it, other people like it. The same thing with writers. You got to sit there and have a certain mindset, and like I said, punctuation, grammar, and all that stuff to be an effective writer, an effective storyteller.
I think John cut out.
Yeah.
No, I was done. I was waiting for y'all to say something.
Oh, well, okay. Then that's my mistake then.
It sounded a lot like your mic cut out. Weird.
It's not what it sounded like to me anyway, but yeah. I mean, I do both. I write and I draw. So imagine how I feel. I have terrible grammar in writing. I'm gonna probably need someone to proofread all the stuff.
It takes practice.
Write everything. Well, yeah.
And me personally, I went to school for it. I mean, I took up mass media in school, and in mass media, that they cover everything in journalism: TV, radio, writing. You got to take script writing classes. You got to, learn how to write movies. You got to learn how to write books. You got to learn how to write speeches. You got to learn how to write essay papers properly. You got to learn how to write newspaper articles and do all your citations properly and all that good stuff. I learned a lot doing all that. But me, I'm just trying to, working for a newspaper right now would be basically a dead medium for me, because newspapers are dying out. They've been dying out. Right. And the days of people making a lot of money on writing newspaper articles are long gone. And some of the most high paid people who worked in newspapers, they would only bring home like $600 a week they were making on writing a newspaper article. They had an article every day in the paper, or like every week in the paper, and they were making between like 600, maybe close to 1,000 a week doing a newspaper article. So you can make money if you're living humble, but you're not going to be like a billionaire writer unless you got one of those personal blogs that's like monetized and making buku money, or you're like a novelist like somebody like Anne Rice or Stephen King, who's everybody's dying to read your stories, and studios are dying to make a movie about your books or whatnot. You're not going to be up there on those high levels. But writing and art, both of them are hard to do. I mean, when I sit there and write, my characters, my story, all that is on my mind 24/7. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it, because you got to be consistent with stuff, and stuff has to make sense. I'm pretty sure the same thing with an artist. When you're crafting a picture, or you're doing commissions, or you're doing a comic book, stuff has to be consistent. You go to bed thinking about it. You wake up thinking about it. You're in the John thinking about it. You're at the bank thinking about it. You're eating your Cheerios thinking about it. You're playing with your kids thinking about it. You're having sex with your partner thinking about it. I mean, they're both hard things to do.
Okay,
you know, they're always on your mind. You don't tell your partner that, but you're thinking about it. I mean, some people are. I mean, the sex can give you an idea for a storyline for all you know. You could be sitting there like, oh shoot, baby, hold on, I gotta write this down.
I was just covering your ass because there is an audience watching. Don't just because you think about it while you may be having your relationship with your significant other, don't vocalize that.
Yeah, like, hold on, baby, I gotta write something down. Write what down? I gotta write this down.
You will find the shortest distance to the end of the relationship if you do that.
I think that might be a significant truth to that statement. You're going to be sleeping on the couch if you vocalize it out loud, I think.
Well, you've heard of the principle of the shortest distance between 2 points. I think that is the shortest distance between you and the end of any given relationship.
But put it like this, not to knock anybody, but if the person who did 50 Shades of Grey, if they actually participated in BDSM, which I had, or actually had actual sex with somebody involving BDSM, which I also have, 50 Shades of Grey wouldn't be the crappy book that a lot of people said it is.
Yeah, no, it is a terrible representation of BDSM. Aside from a terrible book, just kind of in general.
Hello,
again, not to knock nobody's work. Yeah, not to knock nobody's work, but I mean, I'm sorry. As a practitioner in that type of lifestyle, they had a lot of points in that book wrong. A lot of points.
Yep.
Coloring. Yeah, Maranya is working on a book. That's cool too. Writing, and she's writing and drawing it. So yeah. That was stuff that I was kind of thinking of too. It's like I have so many story ideas to work out through. And it's like, what medium am I going to put this in? Going to do comics? Are we going to be writing stories? What are we doing with it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, also on top of that too, you got a lot of people to complain about the scenes in comic books where people like having conversations in cafes and diners and whatnot. There's nothing wrong with that stuff being in the story, but in a 22-page comic book to have 8 pages of somebody being in a diner is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you're going to have something like that with 2 people having a conversation in a diner or a restaurant or whatever, save that for a novel or save that for like some big-ass 50, 100-page annual comic book that you're doing. You could get away with like 8 pages. You could get away with like 8 pages of people in a diner having a conversation, then move on to something for the action people, for the people who read it for the action.
Or make the diner important to the overall arc of the story. Like Neil Gaiman actually pulled this off in one of the earliest issues of Sandman. There's an actual issue called 24-Hour Diner. And he managed to make it work because there were horror elements to it. There were action elements to it. There was a like genuine dramatic reason why it was there. It wasn't just because the writer thought to themselves, you know what would be cool? Guys. You know what would be cool is if we had a diner scene like one of those old noir movies in this comic. Yeah, no, that's not a good enough reason to do things. You actually have to make sure that it's relevant to things. Especially if you're going to take the space, if you're going to take 8 pages or you're going to take a whole issue and make a diner conversation, make sure it amounts to things, please.
Yeah. That is a good idea. Also, it could be like this. You could have a whole comic book with a diner scene if it's like a mutual meeting ground between 2 enemies, like kind of like the Holy Ground in Highlander. You have these 2 people who are enemies who are trying to kill each other. They both end up in a diner and they sit down and have a conversation between the battle and the fighting. And you make the conversation. You don't make the scene intense. You keep it in the diner. They're having a conversation, but you make the conversation somewhat intense and back and forth banter. Then it becomes exciting. Then you can't wait to see what's going to happen next once they leave that mutual stomping ground. Yeah. And even in that the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie that everybody seems to crap on, but I liked it a little bit. They had that one place with a black guy. He was like a voodoo priest or something. He had that mutual bar. Yeah, Papa Midnight had that mutual. Yeah, he had that mutual like club where good and evil angels and demons could go there and conversate and not get in the battle. As soon as you got in the battle, he kicked you out.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that part. I think one of the bigger problems is that a lot of the writers that we're getting nowadays, especially from the big two, a lot of them are a fair amount of them have been like young adult authors. Writing a novel is different than writing a comic book.
Well, it's not just that. It's also they come from the school of art is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. And one thing that I wish I could bring back more than anything is the idea of doing things in and of themselves for their own sake. And that includes art. You should do sometimes writing art to speak to people and everything is great, but sometimes the art just for its own sake is worthwhile, all for its own sake.
Yeah. Script Doctor, why do you come at the most awkward moments? I don't know.
I can sit there.
Puppies. That's why.
This is the moment where I love having Dalton around because we agree, we disagree on some things, but there's a lot of things we do agree on. Because my whole thing is, and this is not to offend anybody, I say that drawing and writing is a God-given talent. I do it mainly because I like doing it because I don't want to be one of those people that sat on my behind my whole entire life that had good ideas that never put them out there. And Aaron Sparrow, one of the guys who worked on Darkwing Duck, God bless him, he was talking on Twitter one day about, there's all these songs about people not giving up and going the distance, but there's no songs about the virtue of quitting when you're defeated or you have no other route to go. And I quoted that and I said, there's nothing wrong with giving up if you truly can't pull something off and just, taking a high road saying, I tried, I can't do it. I'm just going to give it up because it's not going the way I wanted to. But if you do give up, you never know what might happen. Like me, a lot of like Dalton said, a lot of these people think, oh, today writing has to be a means to an end. You have to do it to make money. You have to do it to
a political statement or an ideological statement.
You got to do it you got to do it to live, or you got to do it to put milk and bread on the table. No, you don't. You do it mainly because it's a talent, it's a gift, it's something you were blessed with. You do it because you love it. Exactly. I mean, there's no problem making money off that gift. But you do it mainly because you love it. And if you do it more because you love it, not because you need to pay your bills, the money will come. If you put your heart and soul into it because it's a gift and put it out there, it'll be so damn good because you put your heart and soul into it that the money will come. That's why you have your Anne Rices and your J.K. Rowlings and your Tolkiens and your Stephen Kings and all these other multi-millionaire novels, H.P. Lovecraft. All these
we could go on
exactly. Edgar Allan Poe, all these beautiful people who people hold in such high regard because they put their heart and soul into it. And let's be honest, H.P. Lovecraft died penniless, but look at his reputation now. They talk about his work in college.
Same thing with Poe. He died in a hotel room, I think, basically.
Exactly. I had to take a college class on H.P. Lovecraft alone. They teach H.P. Lovecraft in colleges because his mythos, his skill was so loved. But he died penniless, but they teach him in colleges now. So, I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter how much. Sometimes. Sorry. Let me just say one last point. So sometimes it's not about the money you make off your craft. It's about the impact that you make generations to come from your craft. Because Lovecraft died penniless, Poe died penniless, but people are teaching college courses on their work these days, like several years later.
Yeah,
and I just want to bring this back to kind of comics and things. If anyone ever gives you shit about comics being an inferior art form to like novels and stuff, remind them that H.P. Lovecraft, one of the greatest writers in the modern day Western canon, got his start in pulps, which are the great granddaddies of modern comics.
Yeah,
because he didn't, for the most part, write novels. He wrote like novellas and short stories that eventually became adapted into novels. Same thing with Dickens. He was a newspaper author. He wrote a lot of his stories in incremental elements in the same way that comic strips were written. So anytime someone gives you shit about liking comics or novels being a better art form than comics, remind them that for the longest time before novels were novels, they were essentially the 18th century equivalent of comic strips.
Yeah. The one thing, and considering we are bringing it back to comic books a bit, And of course, we can remember, like, a lot of people love the current run in Shonen Jump for My Hero Academia. The guy who writes it, I can't even remember his name, but he never thought that he was going to make a successful comic book before. He tried and failed, and then eventually made something that people loved. So, you're not going to get anywhere by not at least giving it a shot.
Yeah, and this works for all art forms as well. I mean, even everyone sitting here is a YouTuber. This works for YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm only at 51 subscribers. And yeah, would it be nice if I woke up tomorrow and had like PewDiePie's level of subscribers? Sure. But even if it takes me another year to hit the 100 mark and another year after that to hit the 1,000 mark and so on and so forth, I will still be doing it as long as, I'm in an economically feasible situation where I can do it, which hopefully will be the foreseeable future. Because I say things, yes, because I would like to make it as a YouTuber, but also because I say things because I feel they need to be said, and nothing is going to stop me from saying a thing if and when I feel it needs to be said. And sometimes it needs to be said, and you're going to piss people off, but it still needs to be said for its own sake and for your own sake.
Welcome back, Xander. I think he left for a while, and now he's back. Well, welcome back. Lovecraft was so influential. When anyone wants to do a cosmic horror story, the very first question is, did Lovecraft already do it? And possibility is yes.
You are not wrong. You are not wrong, Script Doctor. That is very much the case. He's probably my favorite author, just period. Like, damn.
Yeah, a lot of people really like him.
And just because I have a personal vendetta and I need to service it for a minute, he got magic more right than Arthur C. Clarke ever did. So stop with the fucking Clark's Law shit, and somebody please institute a H.P. Lovecraft law. The world of magic and fiction would make infinitely more sense if we did this. Clark's Law can get fucked.
Yeah. Anyway, what else is there really to say after a lot of that? For the most part, right now, I think that we've pretty much covered everything I was planning on covering.
And then some.
And a little bit of extra. Yeah, we talked about a bunch of other stuff. Creators being dickbags. Because, of course, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sadly, like I said, humility is going to eventually creep up on them, and they're all going to have no choice but to learn their lesson.
Yeah,
they have it happens eventually. Either it's going to take them getting broke or getting fired to happen. I mean, I don't wish that for them to happen, but if they keep up their bad behavior, something's going to come about it. Just like Robbie Rodriguez may have got away with, flashing his naked behind on, Twitter for now, but if he does it again or does something similar to that, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some repercussions. If not, he's going to be done for good.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that there's nothing wrong with critiquing creators. The one thing that I always have issue with is the discussion and the argument of it's okay for, the hypocrisy of we can't criticize everyone, or at the very least, give tactful criticism to certain people, because that seems to be the case, whether it's with mainstream comic or with the Comicsgate crowd. It's like it's all circular. They're all behaving in a similar fashion. One is lesser of two evils, I guess. But it's like if we can't say like, no, I don't like this, or hey, I think this is wrong. It's going to. I think that's the reason why. These are just some random thoughts of mine. This is why the situation with like Ethan Van Sciver has bugged me so much, is that he's either surrounded himself with too many yes men, which I feel is partially the case, or the fact that he was praised. Yeah, or he was, and I also think it was he was praised too much and defended too much to the point where we never thought that, he might inevitably stab somebody in the back, or at the very least not be able to take the criticism when it came. It bugs me. It irritates me. it's like a lot of the stuff that happens, drama and whatnot, could have easily been avoided, but apparently not. It's like, conversations, talking, not getting butthurt if somebody doesn't like what you're doing. People give me shit all the time. Do you think that I'm going to stop doing what I've been doing? I'm still going to try my best to do it the way that I feel is the appropriate way to do it. I remember it was, what was it? It was several months back after CB Cebulski talked about, what was it? Reprimanding the guy who was writing Moon Knight. I forgot his name already. But I did get some flack because I said, look, at least the man was reprimanded. Maybe he wasn't reprimanded enough, but at least he was reprimanded. It's a start. And then I did get comments and messages saying like, no, this is still slimy. It's double speaking. When I was like, I don't see it as that. I just see it as him.
You mean Max Bemis? Is that the guy you mean?
Yeah, Max.
Yeah.
It's like because they were saying like, no, CB's just still not doing it right, and I'm like, was answered a question at a convention, and he was, put in a corner. It's not like he could just up and leave or say no comment when someone asks him a question. It's like, no. He had to answer it, and he answered it professionally. And in best case scenario, I would prefer them not have to address these issues directly unless the person commits like an actual crime. Like, they stole something or they murdered their grandparents or something. It's like, they no longer work for us.
Here's the issue with that, though. As far as criticism is concerned, like I told people I would do, there's people just being downright evil. Yeah. And there's criticism. If somebody's giving you proper criticism, all right, I appreciate you checking it out. I appreciate you giving it a try. I'll do my best next time to catch your eye again, but if not, I apologize. But thank you anyway for checking out my project. And leave it at that. Be as nice as possible. But if you got somebody coming to you on the Twitters or whatever, just being a trollish dick and just cursing you out or being mean for the sake of being mean, still shoo them away with kindness. And if you have to, block and mute. There's nothing wrong with the block and mute button. You just don't use block bots. Because you can't punish everybody for the action of one person. But whether they're trolling or giving you proper criticism, exactly. Whether they're trolling or giving you proper criticism, either way you see it, shoo them away with kindness. If they're just giving you proper criticism, shoo them away with kindness. If they're trolling, shoo them away with kindness, then block and mute. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go read some comments. Script Doctor talking about Script Doctor keeps on updating me on where he's at watching the Fate series. I appreciate that. Thank you for reminding me. So you're at the point where Lancer is now fighting Archer. That's cool. Been one thing about the show that confuses me. Why is there a 10-year gap between 4th and 5th Grail War, but every other one is a 60-year gap? I don't know. A good question. Even I don't know the answer to that. I think it has something to do. No, I'm drawing a blank. I can't see of a feasible reason why. You would have to probably look into the lore as to why that would be the case. Otherwise, I have no answer. But you're right. There is a 10-year gap opposed to the 60-year gap that the others had. Trying to think what could possibly be a reason for something of that nature to happen.
I see that Xander and Jonah are talking about Superman's resistances to magic in the comments, and I'm me, so I have to weigh in. One of my favorite scenes from Superman the Animated Series summed this up perfectly, and it was probably the best own on Superman I've ever seen, and one of the reasons I don't particularly care for Superman as a character. There's a character called Carkol who really wasn't based very much on the comic book character of Carkol, but in the Superman Animated Series episode Hand of Fate, there's this character who's not Carkol but takes the name of Carkol, and he battles Superman and he says, "You are strong for a mortal, but a mortal is all you are. You do not have the tools to defeat me." Best pwn ever. That's one of the reasons, because this is the thing. It's not as though Superman doesn't know that magic exists, and it's not as though Batman doesn't know that magic exists. In the DC universe, it's almost as definitive a thing as you could ask for. At some point, it has to be chalked up to sheer laziness that neither of them opens up a fucking grimoire.
Yeah.
Especially Superman, because if you know that magic is one of the only things in the world aside from kryptonite that can hurt you, bitch, learn protection spells.
Yeah, you sometimes will have some sort of protection or safety against kryptonite. You need to do the same for magic.
Yeah, like I know most of the magic users you're going to end up fighting would probably be able to remove it, but in the 5 seconds where you're more protected from magic than you otherwise would be, you can get a couple of good hits in at least.
Amen with that. But the Superman is a complicated character, because even when they dumbed his powers down, people say, "Oh, he's still, godlike, and he's an unbelievable character because can't nobody stop him." They done go on the show. They showing him bleed in the cartoon. They started showing him bleed in the comic book more in the 90s. They started showing somebody like Lobo kick him in the nuts and like hurt him. Like they started showing him using gear to go underwater and gear to go into outer space, trying to make him more, mortalized. What more do you want? I mean, he's a complicated character as far as power wise, and you got the stories that make him seem like so uber invincible. Then you got the diversions of him, like the one that stayed in the sun for 1,000 years. It came out look like a gold statue that was virtually, indestructible. He's a complicated character to write and a complicated character to describe his power set. He's not like a Goku who's going to train and be stronger, but there's still people that could beat his ass. When it comes to Superman, either he's up to the task or he's going to get somebody like Doomsday that could hurt him, but he's going to come back and end up beating Doomsday, which he did, which was, ridiculous but funny.
27. I agree with you, Jonah. I've always been on the position of Superman was never a god, because when you look at his powers are not godlike powers. They're primarily physical powers. He barely has any energy manipulation. He barely has any, he doesn't have any telepathy or extrasensory shit. He doesn't have any reality warping. He doesn't have any, he doesn't have any intellectually based powers. He just has a surplus of very basic bitch physical powers. Super strength is a very basic superpower. He just happens to have a lot of it. That's the only thing that's power wise that defines Superman for me. He has a bunch of basic bitch powers. He just has a large surplus of basic bitch powers. But when it comes to the interesting powers, like any of the kinesises or any, extrasensory shit or magic or energy manipulation or reality warping, he doesn't have those powers. And to me, those powers were always the powers that defined someone as godlike, not the physical ones. Like, non-physical powers are more defining, to me at least, as a god or to a god than would physical powers be. So unless he starts developing non-physical powers or energy-based powers, he's not a god in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's why Superman even admitted remember that book after the JLA X Avengers book came out, they had a book in DC called Syndicate Rules. The Crime Syndicate came back, and they had that whole thing from those people from Earth 3. They had that spaceship that shot that beam to turn people inside out. And Captain Marvel got hit with it, and he got turned inside out. And Superman commented, he was the only one that could survive that. I can't even survive that beam. So if Superman admitted that Captain Marvel was more powerful than him, that tells you something right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course, Superman is a humble man. He can admit when he's not the most powerful being in the room.
Yeah.
But he's a good character in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. But everyone's right. Yeah, he's no god. Just the same as Batman is no god, although sometimes they write him as such. Or as close as godhood as you can get when it comes to a human being with a lot of skill and talent.
Yeah, but he still, for whatever reason, doesn't extend that tendency to accrue skills and talents to the magical ones, which is kind of... Because just based on sheer efficiency, trying to take out my biases for a second, just on the basis of, sheer efficiency... The techniques that magic includes are extremely effective, and Batman has witnessed them being extremely effective, given that they give characters who have no meta-human powers or technologically based powers the ability to basically withstand the heart of a sun or equivalent stuff. So just based on sheer efficiency, he should fucking open up a grimoire every now and then.
Yeah, it would be prudent of Batman to do that, or Superman. Unless Superman actually literally can't touch it.
And it's not as though they both don't know the most skilled magic users in the goddamn universe that could teach them and mentor them. If they opened up a grimoire and were like, I just don't understand this, they can fucking call like Fate or Zatanna or Constantine and be like, hey, I need some magic tutoring, and you owe me a favor. And Lord knows they both, have racked up enough favors over the years from all of these characters that, like, I need magic tutoring and you owe me a favor would certainly be an effective means of getting what they need. So,
and put it like this: if Batman, and this has happened in the old DC lore, Batman could teach Clark martial arts in the Fortress of Solitude in the Batcave. There's no reason why Superman can't take the time to stop and learn some magic. They have shown in the comic books where Batman literally was teaching him martial arts because without his superpowers, he's defenseless. I mean, he lost the. I mean, if people remember back in the day, him and Lex Luthor were both powerless on the moon one time. I don't know how that happened, but they were on the moon one time. There's a red sun, and Lex Luthor said, well, throw your hands up. Let's see how tough you are when you're on my level. And Lex Luthor beat him down. Like, he literally blacked his eye, busted his nose, and messed Superman's face up. And then that just goes to show you, without his powers, he's a nobody. That's why Batman had to train in martial arts.
And also for Batman, that given a lot of the newer reboots and the newer versions, there's not even a reason necessarily for him to distrust like mysticism, because he went to the like Buddhist monasteries in the Himalayas and learned martial arts that way. So if he was opposed to mysticism full stop, he wouldn't have even allowed for that kind of stuff, but he did, so he doesn't even have that bias. And not harping on you too much or anything, Bats, but you are one of the richest motherfuckers on the planet. If anyone can afford the ungodly expensive, super powerful grimoires that not even someone like Fate or Zatanna can get their hands on, it would be you. So yeah, I can totally imagine like Batman getting into magic and then being like, haha, I now have a spell book that is more powerful than any other magic user on the planet. And I have the money to actually pay someone to go and search for it. So fuck off. Because if what Batman is worried about is he doesn't trust other people to teach him magic because they will, by definition, be slightly more powerful than he is, again, you have the means to find the grimoires that are even more powerful than most of the other characters. So even after you get the basic magical knowledge from someone like Constantine or Fate, use some of that wealth, become an antiquarian book collector, and find yourself some ungodly powerful grimoires. I mean, I could totally see Batman wrecking like the entire Justice League just with the Magdalene Grimoire, which is a book that exists in the DC universe. And no, it doesn't exist in reality because I've looked. Don't judge me.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna start closing off now because I need to work on cooking some dinner and whatnot. But thanks for John and Dalton for coming by. It's greatly
always
appreciated.
A pleasure, my friend. Always
Anytime.
A pleasure.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, kind of making a bit of a, I don't know if I'd call it a full-blown announcement or anything, but I'm thinking I might do a stream where I discuss some story ideas in the future. I'm going to actually have to sit down on my computer and write some of the stuff down. Some of it's already written, but I want it on the computer too.
Good use of pun, Eric Brain. Well done.
Nighty night. Well, thank you, Maverick. And if anyone else loved the stream, please smash that like button.
Yes, and subscribe to all our channels because we could use it because reasons.
I think most of these people are already subscribed to me. But if you're new here and you ran across this video, please feel free to subscribe. We greatly appreciate it.
Highly appreciate it. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
and if you liked me rambling incessantly about philosophy and magic, it's kind of what I do on my channel as well. So please feel free to go and subscribe to my channel. You can find it; it's pinned to my Twitter profile as well. So if you go to my Twitter, you will be able to find my channel.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to 100 subscribers by like the next 6 months, but I don't know how
I
realistic
think that seems relatively realistic if you keep up a decent upload schedule and you keep
Yeah, I just
working at
passed
it.
50 last week, so if I could get to 100 by like the next couple of months, I'd be elated.
Yeah, you'll get there. I'll get to 1,000 eventually. I'm about 200 away, or well, less than 200 away at this point. But to write down magic. Okay. But yeah, I think we'll also hopefully do the Castlevania stream relatively soon. I'm not going to make any full promises, but I'm hoping to at least get through all of it this hopefully either tomorrow or Friday. I can get through the show, and then if I remember to do it, please somebody remind me to do it. Browbeat me in the head or something. Remind me.
No,
like,
don't you know? You never start with the head. The victim gets all bloody.
Good point. Good point. I just want people to remind me to go watch some Netflix because I haven't been doing that. But we'll do the Castlevania stream, and I'll get Dalton and Rabbit in, and we'll have a conversation about what we think of it.
The Castlevania anime is so awesome, guys.
Yes, it is. It is good from watching season 1. Awesome, and where I've watched I think I watched a couple episodes of 2. So
Have you watched my review of season 1? Is the question that I am now going to guilt you with.
Probably not, because I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff. I've been busy trying to find work, and also I was sick for a while, and I get busy doing other things, writing my own stuff, working on videos. But I try and dedicate time to it. Trust me, it's hard to dedicate time to just watch.
No, it's fine. But if you
Stop
get the
guilting
chance, I already posted my review of season 1, and I'm getting around to my episode reviews of season 2. I'm probably gonna wait until after the new year though, because the holidays are busy. There will still be plenty of content during the holidays, though. I'm planning on doing a Christmas special. You heard it here first.
Alrighty.
Yeah, remember we're trying to get English team to do that Christmas Day special, that one at nighttime. So hopefully we'll be doing that too. We're doing that thing at nighttime.
Well, you'll have to ask him because I don't know. But yeah, guys, thanks for coming on, and we will see you in the next one.
Oh yeah, thank you guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yep.
Cheers, guys.